Well,
wow,
Ryan,
there is a lot going on.
I'm not prepared for the show today. I should have been a little bit more prepared. I was looking for the green jacket. I can't find it, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
We'll talk about your big pick.
Somebody won
the Masters. We'll get to that. You're just like Rory, defending champ, 2 straight Masters. Good for you, Clarkey. But listen, before we get to that, unfortunately for you, there's some more important things going on in the Toronto sports scene.
Why unfortunately?
And we're gonna talk a lot. We're going to talk a lot about, it is playoff time for one Toronto team. We're going to talk a lot about teardown day, locker cleanout with the Leafs. We're going to get into all that stuff, okay?
All right.
But there is a team that's going to compete in the playoffs, and that is your Toronto Raptors. And ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky on this show. We've got some great people to come on here and chat with us about sports. Our buddy Paul Jones. We're very excited, though, to welcome on one of the most talented broadcasters this great country of ours has to offer. The play-by-play voice on the radio for your Raptors. He's done play-by-play for Canadian baseball. Jays. Okay. WTA. You like tennis? I do. You like Olympic boxing? This guy's done that.
I didn't even know all this.
What can't this? That's the power of research, brother. I didn't even use AI.
You're using AI?
Not at all. Just my good old noggin and my eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, lay your eyes on the very talented Mr. Eric Smith. Smitty, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for the intro. Clarkey, you got to keep up with me here. You're the one that gave me my start in the business, and now you just forget about me. You just drop me like a bad habit.
No. That's not true. And did you say author? Eric's got a book out.
Yes, I wanted to get that when I brought him on. Yes, We the Raptors, which is available wherever you want to get your books, online, in stores. You're going to find this thing anywhere fine books are sold in this great country. Please pick that up and check it out.
I should have set this up better. I've got this big off camera here, this big poster. Like I should have stuck this behind me.
That's a big book.
I
guess you had my old address.
Here, I'll just hold this behind me while we do the.
There you go.
Anyway,
I must have had my old address
too.
That's because those are the only books I can read. I need a font that big. So anyway,
is there an audio version of the book?
There is. Shockingly, there isn't, and that's I don't want to throw my publisher Simon & Schuster under the bus, but they opted to not do an audio book.
That's a mistake for sports fans, man.
But I will say, at the risk of breaking my arm while I pat myself on the back, it was a national bestseller. So the book did extremely well, and I'm quite proud of it. So
good for you,
as you should be. And of course, it was very popular.
I got to write a book. I got to write a book on other guys who wrote books.
How would you ever write a book when you never read them, Chris?
I listen to the audiobooks. Okay.
Yeah. So what do you know about just hit record? That we're doing an audiobook now. It's called a podcast. Welcome to the show.
Fine.
Eric, let's get to actual business here. We'll put Clarkey's reading challenges aside. How about these Raptors? A bit of an up and down end of the season there where it looked like they were going to end up in a play-in game. They avoid that. They're going to take on the Cavs in the first round. Everything getting started Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. What did you make of not only the season in its entirety, but that last month of the season where things were starting to look a little dicey for this team?
It was looking a little dicey, I suppose, a little up and down. I know we didn't have a chance to chat over the course of the season, but I could show you the receipts, both on radio, TV, and even in print. Both myself and Jonesy talked about this in training camp way back in October in Calgary. We believe that the Raptors had an opportunity to be a playoff team, and not a play-in, but a playoff. I looked at the roster, looked at the skill set, and as we would say, I think you guys would agree with any team in any sport, with health being the ultimate X factor. If this team can stay healthy, if, I thought they had a shot to be a top 6 team in the conference, and they were proving me right all year until that last month. Now, in the last month, I'm not necessarily thinking or saying that the Raptors played poorly. I just think that a lot of teams kept playing well and kept tightening that race. When you look down right now and look at the Eastern Conference overall, it may not be as stacked or as top-heavy, perhaps, as the Western Conference is. But when you look at teams right now, in both conferences, but I'm focusing on the East, that are above 500, but yet are still down in the 8, 9, 10 slots or whatever, there are a lot of good teams in basketball right now. There might not be a lot of great teams, which opens up the opportunity for a ton of clubs. but I think there are a lot of good teams. So I kind of look at it maybe from a flip in that I don't know that Toronto was, and I'm not saying you said this, Toronto wasn't necessarily backing their way in or falling their way or lucking their way into a playoff spot. They earned it with their overall consistent play. And as much as it kind of becomes cliche, those games in October and November, they matter just as much as those games in March and April. So when the Raptors were maybe stockpiling some wins earlier in the season or kind of building up that record early on, it allowed them to have that slippage in the last month where maybe they let a couple of games slide. And one specifically I can point out in the loss to the Sacramento Kings that was infuriating to me and probably to every player and coach and every fan and everything else, that really could have derailed things for Toronto. But they ultimately found a way to get it done, and not just get it done by the skin of their teeth. They're the 5 seed. They're going in as a top 5 seed in the conference. And, arguably we could kind of nip and tuck it here with the actual records, but a top 10 team essentially in the league. And that to me says you're a good team and you earned every bit of what you had and proved your consistency and your worth over the course of the season.
How big was it that they didn't have to play in that play-in game? Like, obviously not having that pressure of having to win right away or you're gone, but was that a huge relief for them?
I think so, Clarkey, because I think of the work that I just talked about that you put in over the course of the season to not have to be in a position where, you have to win to stay in. Even if they were in the 7-8 spot and, you've got that extra opportunity to, win and you're in, or lose, you still got one more shot. I think to actually say, no, we are a playoff team. We have an opportunity to know that we are going to get at least 2 home playoff games. We've got an opportunity to move on and to hopefully go to battle against whomever we face. To me, that's the other key, though. When I say whomever we face, I think the bigger key of avoiding the play-in, it was actually avoiding the 6 seed. Because, listen, I might ultimately eat my words here and be proven wrong as it relates to the Cavs. Maybe Cleveland bounces Toronto in 4 or 5 games. I don't know. But I think Toronto has a much better chance against Cleveland than they did against the New York Knicks. And that's not just because of this season. That's the last few seasons. New York has had Toronto's number. I don't think the Raptors match up well against the Knicks. And if it had been a 6-3 battle against New York, I think it could have been a real tough test for Toronto. We'd be having a much different conversation right now about my optimism of at least seeing the glass half full for a matchup against the Cavs, as opposed to what I might have been saying in a showdown against the New York Knicks.
And there's credence to that because they played the Cavs well this year. And I mean, a guy that's been consistent in all those matchups for them has been this guy in Scottie Barnes. And, he the other day in an interview was talking a little bit about the all NBA defensive team. And he was asked about where he maybe finds himself in that mix. And he stated pretty bluntly, I think I'm one of the best defenders in the league. Do you feel that way, Eric? Like, has this guy become one of the top defensive players in the NBA? Because I watch the guy out there when he's at his best, and I think he easily could be.
I think he is, and I think he will be on an all-defensive team, whether it's first or second. I think he will be among the top 5, top 10 defensive players in the league when all the awards are announced over the coming weeks and into the offseason. Scottie Barnes has proven his consistency, I think, on the defensive end over the course of his career, but he took it to another level this year in terms of that night to night, night in, night out, being able to guard 5 positions as a shot blocker, as a guy with quick hands and his ability to steal the ball, his ability to lock down and get in front of a smaller guard or to get down in the post and guard a guy his size or bigger. I think he has elevated to that position and to that role overall. And I think his ability to do that while still being a guy that can also score and it can also distribute as well. I think he's become a very, very elite player in so many different facets, and he's going to have to be that guy for the Raptors throughout the playoffs, however long the postseason lasts for them, but especially going into game 1 with the possibility hanging over his head or the team's head, or more so Emmanuel Quickley's head. We're kind of waiting to see the status of Quickley right now, and there's a real chance that with the hamstring issue and the plantar fasciitis, that Quickley may not play in game 1. And that probably vaults Scottie Barnes into that point guard position, into that point forward role where, you got to go out there and guard James Harden and or Donovan Mitchell and or Evan Mobley and see all 3 of those guys potentially in stretches in the game. But we also need you to handle the rock and be the playmaker and do it on both ends of the floor. And I think Scottie has shown this year that he can do that, but he's going to have to do it now on the biggest stage in the playoffs.
Plantar fasciitis is one of the worst. I get it often, and it is awful. It's painful. You can't walk. I don't know how you can play. I'm sure he's tried everything. I have these insoles called, this is going to be a little plug for this company because they're amazing, and I've used them for 15 years. And if I stop, it comes back. Barefoot Science, best thing ever. We had them on the fan, I think, a long time ago, Smitty.
You got to get them on the show. You got to get paid here, Clarkey.
I know. I should just send them this clip and get some free ones because they're not cheap, but they're worth it because you don't want anything wrong with your feet. Eric, if this team does not succeed and get past the Cavs, why would it be? What are they missing?
Well, one of the things that we were just chatting about is the success the Raptors had against Cleveland in the regular season, and they did 3-0. All of those games came before the flip of the calendar. In fact, they came before Christmas. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they came before we even got to December. So what's the key to the Cleveland Cavaliers since the Raptors have seen them? Oh, yeah, by the way, James Harden has been added to that lineup. So Toronto has not seen Cleveland since the addition of James Harden. Now, I don't know if James Harden could guard any of the three of us, but I do know that he is an elite, one of the all-time great scorers in the history of the game, and a guy who has never missed the postseason in his 17-year career. Now, he hasn't had a ton of success in the postseason, but he is battle-tested, playoff-tested, and adds a whole different element to that team. Because I would be, if we were to, in a make-believe fantasy world right now, be having this exact same conversation back in November and saying, what if the Raptors were to face the Cavaliers in the playoffs? I'd be telling you about how it's going to be tough because of an elite player that is Donovan Mitchell, because of a two-way player and a guy that's proven to be a rising star in the game who came in the same draft class as Scottie Barnes in Evan Mobley, a rebounder and a presence in the middle, of a Jared Allen. The depth of the Cleveland roster overall and how they've got a great second unit. I'd be saying all that stuff and how tough this matchup's going to be. And that's without talking about James Harden. I think Harden is a huge addition to that team and has been. He's proven that now over the last couple of months. And I think when you now try to go man for man, position by position, going pound for pound and start thinking about, okay, who are you going to guard? Who's going to have this guy? Who's going to have that guy? Cleveland has a lot of weapons, and I'm not sure if the Raptors will have enough defensively to shut down the Cavs. And I think it's going to be one of those cases, and again, this might sound kind of cliche, where you're trying to limit and be comfortable with what ultimately you're able to limit the team, because you're not going to stop them. I don't think you're going to have a game where you completely take Donovan Mitchell or James Harden out of the equation for the Cavaliers. It's more limiting the damage, and will you have enough firepower to keep up with them and to ultimately, get not just one or two or three, but can you get 4 wins against this team?
I just use a little AI because that's what they do at MLSE. And I asked if James Harden can guard the Raptors in this year's playoffs, and it says not really. He can't. Definitely not as a primary option. Is there a lot of AI going on with this team, Smitty? Do you know behind the scenes?
No, listen, I know what you're referring to in the quote that came out, a week or two ago. I have not followed up and asked Darko Rajakovic or Bobby Webster, any of the players, what the AI level is like within the Raptor walls. I don't have a great answer for you. I'm going to guess. I'm going to assume that it's used to some capacity, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I'm showing my age here. We were talking about my wife off the air before we came on here. My wife, in her job, not in sports, uses AI quite a bit for helping formulate whether it's emails and press releases and research and whatever else. And I think there's a role for all this. Like, all the joking aside, I think there is a role, because it's simply another layer, another tool, another weapon to have in your pocket, in your arsenal, when you're talking about evaluating players, evaluating teams, evaluating defenses, potential draft picks, etc. But to me, you can't ever discount the ultimate eye test, period, let alone discount or push aside or even talk about on the same playing level, in my opinion at least, the experience of a coach, of a player, of a general manager who might have played or coached and who has been there, who's done that, who's seen it. And ultimately, listen, we might be arguing apples and oranges here, or we might be just nitpicking over 51% versus 49%. Mm-hmm. But I personally am always going to give the slight edge to the human being and to the human factor who is seeing these guys, who can reach out and touch and who can who can literally put people into positions and into slots where they need to be, as opposed to a program saying, well, this should happen if this happens, or this guy shoots the corner three well. You know what? This guy shoots the corner three well. Great. You know what? He ate a bad hamburger last night and he's feeling like crap today. Or he had somebody next door in the hotel that was keeping him up and he didn't sleep at all. Or he's nervous as hell because it's his first postseason appearance. Let's speak about Jacoby Walter, just pulling a random guy. And one of the more consistent three-point shooters on the team can't make a shot in game one because the nerves have gotten to him. That's human element. That's not AI. So I've got to guess and hope and assume that you're relying more on, again, the eye test and the human factor than you are anything else when it comes to at least the playoffs, if not more.
That's an interesting concept, Mr. Smith. The human beings running sports franchises. That's a very interesting take. I really appreciate it. I want to ask you a little bit about a guy that's become a central figure on this team since being acquired. And, you know, you brought up that loss to Sacramento, or as I like to refer to them, the Sacramento Poppers. They're just, you know, there was some real tension after that, specifically from this gentleman, Brandon Ingram. His post-game presser after that game was pretty interesting. Like, he was pretty upset with the way that his team performed. I got to ask you, like, because you're not AI, you're a real guy sitting there calling these games and seeing the impact that Brandon Ingram has brought to this franchise. Just how big of a central figure and leader has he become with this team, Eric?
I think he's been massive for the club. The ability that you have now to give the ball to a Brandon Ingram at any point in the game, but especially late in ball games, and to create his own shot, to get off his own shot, his ability to elevate over guys, you know, at 6'9", 6'10", with the wingspan that he has, with the elevation that he has on his mid-range game, and those baseline jumpers, you know, the ability even to get to the 10 and use those long strides and that long reach to finish around the rim and whatnot. He's been fantastic. I don't want to take anything away from him. I think he's one of those quiet leaders. I don't think this is a completely fair comparison, but when we think back to a DeMar DeRozan, he might not have been the most outspoken guy all the time, but he did speak to the media. He did interact with fans. He was popular with his teammates. He was a guy that when he spoke, he had something to say, but he might not be that rah, rally the troops like so many of us want in hockey or baseball or football or basketball. We often think of the leader must be that guy to deliver the speech that you're going to see on all the documentaries for decades to come. That might not be a Brandon Ingram, but he's definitely a guy leading by example. And I'll tell you the other example that he can lead by now that has been a stigma that has maybe plagued him over the course of his career. It's the ability to stay healthy and stay in games. And this year played the most games in his career, was talking regularly about hoping and wanting and having this goal in his mind of potentially playing all 82 games this year. It didn't happen. Played 75 plus. Only 18 guys in the league were able to play the full 82 this year. Jamal Shedd on the Raptors was actually one of them. But Ingram's health overall, and listen, you brought up the AI thing in a jokey way. I don't want to turn this into a theme, but for me personally, if we even use the AI component of, hey, that can't predict health either, right? What can predict health? One of the top training staffs and medical science staffs in the league, led by Alex McKechnie, who got a guy who hadn't played more than 63, 64 games for the last 3/4 of a decade to play 70, 75 plus games this season, and kept him durable throughout the year to the point where he is healthy going into the playoffs and having his best statistical season overall as well in an all-star campaign in his first year with the Raptors. That says everything you need to know about what Brandon Ingram is and the impact he's had and will need to have going into this playoffs.
Smitty, before we get you out of here, I want to ask you about, you talk about leadership, and obviously no one's going to go very far in this league or any league really without good coaching. And Darko Rajakovic, like he's been a guy when he first got hired that was a little bit of a polarizing hire. People didn't necessarily think that he deserved the position, even though he had done a lot of great work as an assistant in the league for a number of years. I got to be honest, I like the guy. I like how candid he is. From a fan perspective, I appreciate the heat he can bring sometimes. We've seen him kind of blow his lid a few times. Like it's fun listening to the guy, but he's a good coach though. Like, do you think that he can be the guy to eventually lead this franchise back to title contention?
I think he can be because of that experience factor that you talk about. Where, we're looking at a guy that's been almost 15 years in the league when you factor in his time as an assistant as well, and a well-respected guy throughout the league, not only with coaches but with a lot of the players that he has worked with in his various stops. I mean, when you think about even at the top of the list, some of the all-time greats in a guy like a Russell Westbrook or a Devin Booker and so many others. And one of the things I think that stands out about Darko is that I wouldn't be able to tell you right now, and this to me is a sign of a good coach, again, at any sport, at any level, is he's not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. He's a coach. And I think he has the ability to coach both ways. And I think the ability to adapt to the personnel that he has and to the skill set that he has on his roster, but staying true to his principles and what he believes as well. And one of the things he has preached from day one coming in here, which, by the way, now listen, some people might say this, well, hey, there was only room to go up, but he has improved the win total in every year that he's been here. From year 1 to year 2 to now year 3, Raptors have improved each year. But the other thing that has improved is the assist totals, and that's what I wanted to point out, is he has said, I want my teams to play unselfish. I want to move the ball offensively. I want to get a run. I want to make quick decisions. Again, I want to play unselfish. The Raptors this year averaged just under 30 assists per game as a team, which was the best season statistically for the Toronto Raptors in franchise history. And that improved upon their second best year in franchise history, which was last year. So the consistent message of the unselfishness has certainly been bought in by the core, which, by the way, is a core that for the most part is the same from last year as it is this year. The big addition being Brandon Ingram, who did join the team last year, but ultimately didn't play, but he was around the team. He was around the culture. So if the Raptors can keep a good chunk of this core together with that head coach still in place, to me, there's no reason to think that this season right now, even if they get bounced in round 1, that this isn't the start of the next wave for the Raptors, the sort of next generation. It harkens back to the old regime of the Raptors with Kyle and DeMar, which ultimately ended in Kyle and Kawhi. But if you recall that year where they made it into the playoffs, and then they made it in the next year, and then the next year, and they might have got out 1 round, out 2 rounds, conference finals, back again, boom, eventually culminating in a trip to the championship. But it was consistency over 3/4 of a decade of seeing the Raptors in the playoffs. And I think this could be the start of this next run where we look back 10, 20 years from now and say, remember that in 26, that was the start of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row of Raptors postseason basketball. So I think this could be the first step of them being on the right path.
It's classic case of a guy having his mark on a team and the team buying in, man. I like the guy. Like I said, I'm a big Darko fan, and we're a big Smitty fan here. Okay?
And I got to ask before we let you go.
Yes,
you have 2, it looks like Titan hockey sticks behind you.
I do.
What's the significance of those? Anything?
I mean, I can unplug the headphones here and walk over and show you, but they're both autographed by Gretzky. So, and in fact, Clarkey, you're going to turn this actually into, and folks, I'm looking into the camera here. This is not planned. You're going to turn this into a quasi tribute in a sense, which clearly you had no idea was coming. But if you bear with me for a second, I'll tell a quick story. When I was growing up, my neighbors 4 doors up were, and they're still both of I called them Uncle Marvin and Aunt Sandy, even though they weren't blood, they were close family friends. My parents are still close. My parents are still alive. Marvin and Sandy McLean are still alive. Well, the McLean family, Sandy McLean is Phyllis Gretzky's sister. So my neighbors 4 doors up were first cousins to Wayne, and Aunt Sandy, Uncle Marvin were Wayne's aunt and uncle. So as a kid, I actually had a chance to meet Wayne a couple of times when he would come to visit Aunt Sandy and Uncle Marvin in Burlington, Ontario. And I played road hockey with Wayne when I was like 7 years old in 1982, like 4 doors up from my house. I've got a picture. It's not even up in my office here, but I've got a picture of me sitting on Wayne's lap. And I'm wearing the Canadian tuxedo, jean jacket, jeans. And there's me sitting on Wayne's lap at 6, 7 years old. And over the years, I was fortunate enough, through Aunt Sandy and Uncle Marvin to get a couple of autographed sticks that Wayne would send back. And like, hey, that kid down the street that's a big fan of mine,
wow,
give him one of these sticks. So one is game used and another one is like a collector's edition thing. But the reason I bring that up is my cousins, quote unquote, Matthew and Craig, Matthew actually just died at 12:42 this morning after a relatively short but very intense battle with cancer. And he's only a year older than me. But literally at 12:42 this morning, I woke up this morning to a message from my mom that Matthew McLean, and I haven't seen Matthew in, I don't know, I haven't seen Matthew in probably 20 years. I've seen Marvin and Sandy a couple of times. I haven't seen Matthew in 20 years, but he and I, and again, his brother Craig and my brother Adam, the four of us, like we grew up like cousins and we're playing sports together all the time. I played baseball with Matthew as a kid as well. And yeah, Matthew just died literally today at 12:42 a.m. And left behind a wife and two young kids. So it's pretty wild that you bring that up. So yeah. Sorry to end on a somber note, but it's maybe kind of a quasi little tribute to Matthew. You know, a big sports fan himself, and a guy that played hockey and at an elite level, at a high level, not at the NHL, but at a high level, and obviously hockey in the blood with the family. And he was a big baseball player as well, and a family man and everything else. And yeah, passed away. He was 52 years old. So.
Wow.
Yeah, tough one.
God rest him, and thanks for sharing that story with us, buddy. I mean, we're thinking of you and the family and everybody over there, because that's a tough thing to deal with, brother. We appreciate you sharing that with us, eh?
Yeah, and it was nice seeing you earlier this year as well, and we'll have to get together again.
Yeah, I know, Clarkey. I know things. You know, unfortunately, you can relate, right? And as I'm sure we all can in some capacity. So it's just, you know, it's. Yeah. I think I've said this 5 times during this chat, but it's like I hate sounding all cliche about certain things, but it, you know, these little battles and tests in life that we all seem to have thrown at us sometimes. And I don't know. I guess you just got to put one foot in front of the next and keep moving. And you know, with due respect to Matthew, it's even more intense, I know, for what you've been through, Clarkey, and what so many others, I'm sure, listening and watching have been through with very close family members and whatnot. So just that's why, you know, maybe to tie it up in a little bow, and maybe it's a cheesy way to do so, but it's like that's why you appreciate moments like this with the playoffs and with a team that's on the rise and hopefully, you know, building towards something special. Because I'll tell you, I can't believe it's been 7 years since the Raptors won the championship. Like, it's mind-boggling to me that it's been 7 years since I called that game, and since Jonesy and I were together calling that game, and then the parade and everything else. And that's why you enjoy and relish those moments when they come, because you're not sure if they're ever going to happen again. And you kind of take it in and just, you know, reap the rewards and reap the benefits.
And one thing you said earlier off mic or off the air to me is you have a 16-year-old son. And I'm like, this guy looks the same, Ryan, as the day I hired him. Like, it's unbelievable. 16 years old. Is he a big Raps fan?
He's a Raptor fan. Yeah, he's a nice. Buffalo Bills fan. He's into a lot of sports and whatnot. And I cannot believe that in about a year and a half he'll be out of the house and moving on to something else and post-secondary. And I don't know. I don't think he's going to be working in sports, but we'll see. But yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. Good. And you blink and he's 16. It's just bizarre. It's
crazy. And you know, at 16, they get their driver's license, and if they need a car, you know who to call.
Oh yeah, I got you.
This guy's always selling. I love it. You gotta
sell a little bit.
Yeah. I love it.
All right,
well,
buddy.
Smitty, I really appreciate this, brother. Good luck with everything on Saturday. You and Jonesy, as always, are going to sound great on the air. I can't wait to see what this Raptors team has in store for us, brother. Thanks so much for doing this, eh?
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, my friend. There he is, the incomparable Eric Smith. And remember, you can listen to him and our friend, Paul Jones, both those dudes, friend of this program. You can listen to them live Saturday, 1 o'clock tip-off, Cleveland and the Raptors getting the NBA playoffs started. Awesome for him to come on.
Playoffs?
Playoffs. Yeah, let's wow. Well, you know what? Before we transition to hockey, because boy, do we have some stuff to talk about. It's like a never-ending news cycle of insanity. Before we do that, let's talk golf. Because I know that let's put you in a good mood before we address the business at hand. Now, I DQ'd. I did not. Yeah,
dude.
Man. Batia.
You had the first pick.
Batia, and I took Ludwig Oberg, who consistently finishes T15, T10 at this tournament. Boy, did he ever skunk it around.
He didn't play well.
And then Batia missed the cut for me. Oberg made the cut. Minwoo Lee and Batia missed the cut. Minwoo
had one of the worst outings of anybody at the Masters. It was tough. And the worst part is Cam Young was sitting there for you to pick in the very last pick, and you picked Min Woo Lee instead. Anyway,
I was feeling
it's
good
tough.
about
You
Min
never know.
Woo.
I'm happy with my victory over Ian. It was close until the
Rory.
end. I did win with Rory, and I had Shoffley as well. But you know who the guy who really helped me win on the Sunday? Because at one point Sunday, Ian was ahead of me. But John Rahm, who didn't have a good tournament, went five under on Sunday. And that's what really won it for me. He vaulted me into the lead, and then Rory took over.
You beat Doigie by 5 strokes, right? Because you had 2, and then you get the bonus 3 for Rory.
Yeah, 5.
I think you beat him by 5 strokes.
Like yeah, I beat him. It was going away. It wasn't close at the end. Yeah,
congratulations,
Thank you.
Rory. We were all. I was so emotional last year watching that guy.
You were. I brought out the picture that we had. Do we have that? Can we put it up on the screen?
I don't want you to
do
that. I don't actually care, but I don't think the public need to see it. It's just because when you see great players like that and bigger than that, like there's lots of great players on the tour and in lots of other sports.
Yeah.
But when it's a guy that's like such a talismanic figure and a great ambassador of the game.
What does that mean?
Talismanic, like he's a big legend type guy. Like he's a guy that's on a pedestal different from other guys. Like he's such a popular guy, right?
Okay.
And when you see a guy like that, like Gretzky was talismanic, Connor McDavid's talismanic, he's got to win something, right?
Ovi.
Like when you see 100%, when you see guys like that win, it's like emotion because you're just like, they deserve that. Like, and then for Rory to turn around and do it again, it's just awesome, man. I love that his parents were there too. And they kept on, NBC kept jumping back out to Hollywood, Northern Ireland, and they're freaking out I loved it. It was a great story. Yeah. And you rode him to a back-to-back Masters championship. You are Rory of the picks.
Well, yes. And it was so much fun to watch it and know I had him in the pool. Even though I picked third, I picked last. He was looked over. And I got him, and I was so happy I got him. So yeah, it's fun to watch the tournament. I'm a Rory fan, so it was nice to watch him, cheer for him, but also knowing I had him in the pool, even better. So yes, victory for me in the pool, another major for me. I don't care a lot about these little tournaments. It's the majors.
These little, good for you, dude.
Yeah, and you have been the GOAT of the pools. There's no doubt. Ian and I had a little opportunity this week to poke some fun at you and rib you a little bit, and it was, we were shooting some texts back and forth,
and deservedly so.
It was
like
just
my
fun.
team,
it was just all in fun, and you know that.
Yeah, 100%. Like I DQ'd immediately. Like it was over. Like I knew my tournament was over after the first round. Like it was like,
you know who had a unbelievable tournament? And it's a guy you pick a lot, and is Colin Morikawa with a sore back. He was lights out, and I didn't want to pick him because of the back.
I know,
but my gosh, he was really lights out. He could hardly bend over to pick the ball up out of the hole. But he silenced a
lot of doubters, and he was really good. And I give him props because he was struggling. You could tell, especially like once he hit the back 9 on that last day, he was really feeling. And he just kept plugging away, man. Really.
And like 2 other guys, Jake Knapp, who I didn't pick, had a good tournament. And your guy Justin Rose, I felt so bad for Justin Rose. He's a guy I love to cheer for.
We love Rosie.
He chunked that par 3 when he was just 2 feet off the green, he chunked it, and that's what really did. That just set him into a spiral, and he couldn't recover because he was right there. I was dying to see. Wouldn't it have been great to see a Rory Scheffler Rose playoff? Like
that would have been
unbelievable.
The PGA Tour would have been absolutely soiling themselves over that.
Scheffler went the whole tournament. He went the whole weekend without a bogey.
I think he was the first guy since they started tracking this in 1942 to go bogey free on the weekend, and he comes up a shot short. Unbelievable. That guy is a psycho. Like if he starts feeling, he could have a brutal Thursday, even a bad Friday.
Yeah, well, and it cost him this time because he didn't have a great Thursday.
It did. But he's a guy that, like, on Saturday, if he wakes up and he's feeling it and he's like 6 shots back, guys are nervous about it. Especially if he birdies the first hole, guys are like, uh-oh. You know, he's just got an air about him that's different. Speaking about different air, let's transition over now to your beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. I'd like to give you the floor here because everybody's talking about this ridiculous article. It was really well done by Jonas Siegel, James Myrtle, and Chris Johnston of The Athletic. Please read it if you haven't got the chance, where they detailed what all went wrong that led up to this disaster. One of the worst seasons in Toronto Maple Leafs history. I believe it's the biggest point drop off from season to season the team has ever experienced. They gave up 25 plus shots in games, more than any other team in franchise history. All of this to say that the most explosive part of the article that people are talking about is the fact that Keith Pelly inserted himself into the war room on trade deadline day. Now, Keith maintains it was to get an overview and a look at how the management team and scouts performed in a pressure situation. But and the guys that wrote this article got information from 20 different people, including team staff. And they were told that Keith was tossing out ideas about who to potentially target in trades.
From AI, from ChatGPT.
And they felt that his ideas were generated by AI. And I want to bring up a guy that is getting a lot of attention that no one, I think, had heard of a few days ago. And that's this gentleman here. His name is Humza Tarani. He is the chief strategist for MLSE, and he does a bunch of other stuff. His title, it's got innovation in there too. This guy is one of Pelly's most trusted advisors, and he was present as well. And some of the team staff were allegedly a little taken aback by this.
As they should have been.
And they felt that Mr. Tarani here was feeding this AI information on trade targets to Pelly to then trumpet into the room. Now, I don't know how true this all is. I don't know if it just happened once and it was a one-time thing. I don't know. I'd like to pass this over to you now as a Maple Leaf fan. And there is loads of reaction on this. Watch Steve Dangle's video, the new Steve Dangle podcast, Overdrive. Everybody's hitting this. Our friend Sid Sixero was losing his mind on Wednesday. I'd like to pass the floor to you now. You're Mr. Maple Leaf. You worked for this team, Clarkey. So I feel like you're in a much more unique position before I give my take to comment on this. You love this team more than anything. It was a dream of you. You worked for the team. How are you feeling about what's going on with this franchise right now?
Probably the worst I've ever felt as a fan.
Really?
To be honest with you.
Explain.
And I lived through some very dark times.
You did.
In the 80s. And it's so scary when a guy, Keith Pelly, thinks he's going to be smarter than every other executive or president of a company that owns the team, and can bring new things. He's not a hockey guy. Humza is not a hockey guy, as far as I know.
Humza. Yeah.
Okay.
Smart guy. Like,
that's
very
great, Ryan. Great. He's a smart guy. I don't care.
Crap on this
I just cannot believe that Brad Treliving enjoyed that situation. I'm sorry, but I don't think if they want to be in the room, fine. Sit in the corner and observe. But do not suggest trades that ChatGPT might have given you or any other AI. It's just and maybe I'm dating myself, but as Eric said, I'm team eye test, and AI can tell you AI could probably tell you that William Nylander is a great hockey player. But and I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's not. 79 points this year, 30 goals. However, there's, as Rick Bowness said this week, there's something as well that is called culture. And can you determine culture? Because I heard Keith Pelly talking about culture as well.
It's his favorite word. He loves that word.
But what can AI tell you about culture? Can AI tell you about the guys in the dressing room and the culture sucks? Can AI do that? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not artificially intelligent enough to determine that. But it is a dark time for the Leafs. And I said it at the time, Ryan. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm worried, and I don't know Keith Pelly. I maybe talked to him a handful of times when I was in that business. I'm afraid that the Leafs were the jewel of MLSE, as everyone knows they are. And he has his toy, and he wants to play with it, and he wants to make his mark on the team. I'd love to see if how the hiring structure goes. If they hire a president and a general manager, two different people, Keith Pelly should not be in any more meetings or say anything else about this Toronto Maple Leaf team.
No.
Ever.
No.
He can't handle a press conference. It was a disaster. His press conference was an absolute disaster. And I'm just, I guess I'm always the glass half full kind of guy.
You have to be.
I honestly think they can turn this team around, and I know you disagree. They have to make changes. And Craig Berube, you know what? I think Craig Berube, he has won in the past. Rick Bowness, everyone saw. I'm just going to jump back to Rick Bowness briefly, but Rick Bowness came out and absolutely trashed his team in the media. And
Clarkey, he was in tears.
A lot of people thought that was it. He's not coming back. They're not going to get him back. Guess what? Sign an extension. Give him an extension, because that's the kind of culture the Columbus Blue Jackets want in the dressing room. And you know what? Craig Berube, in my mind, should be a guy that is given an opportunity to coach this team again, as sad as that might sound to a lot of people, because I want a Craig Berube type team. And he just didn't have the horses to be able to do that this year. Like, it's, you look at some of the trades and
yes, and I understand
and Callie Yarncroft, and you're not going to.
Team management hampered his ability to coach the way that he wants to coach, and his star players did not give him efforts that were befitting of star players.
It was
in
awful.
The National Hockey League,
dude. I said it.
I'll spend a very brief moment talking about William Nylander and Austin Matthews. I thought both of their appearances today, Nylander's more than Matthews. Nylander spoke for a total of 90 seconds. Yep. Embarrassing player. I bet William Nylander's a great guy, but how many times do we have to say this? I don't need a guy to be a great guy to have team success. I want him to be a killer on the ice for $11.5 million.
I agree.
Okay. 7 power play goals for that guy this year.
Well, he had as many points and goals as he had more goals than Mitch Marner and had one less point than Mitch Marner. But
yippee!
I'm just stating a fact. I'm just stating facts here. That's
great. Mitch Marner doesn't play for the Toronto Maple Leafs anymore.
Thankfully, because then we would have 3 guys.
Austin Matthews. I can't predict the future and whatever. If this guy's that non-committal, like you bring this up to me all the time. Oh, that year the Caps missed the playoffs and Ovi was like, I'm not going anywhere. I want to win here. I'm proud to be the captain of the Capitals, and I have to be better. I wasn't very good. By the way, he said that in a year where he scored 50 goals. That year that they missed the playoffs with Adam Oates, that was a disaster. I don't want to remember that. It happened. He scored 50 goals and he came out and he was like, I wasn't good enough. This team's not good enough. We got to change some things. And they did. Okay. Matthews comes out and it's just like, I can't predict the future. It gets hard now. I heard Hayes on Overdrive today. We're recording this on Thursday, April 16th. Locker cleanout day happened this morning for the Leafs. I heard Hayes on Overdrive going, really? Like, it gets hard for the first time in your career. First year you've missed the playoffs and you're going, I don't know if I want. You're the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you're like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that all aside to say, I agree with you. Like Keith Pelly, listen, AI, look, I think it is a useful tool.
Sure.
Like Eric Smith said to us, our buddy Eric Smith on here.
Yep.
Buy his book, okay? We the Raptors, which he did not use AI to write, by the way. AI can be extremely.
Do we know this?
We know.
Okay.
That's a man of integrity.
Yes.
AI, like he mentioned with his wife's work, can help you do things like complete.
It helps me every day.
It can complete tasks quickly. It can
Yes.
like organizational tasks,
Yes.
like crunching numbers quickly, whatever. If you're going to use, listen, maybe I'm the old man yelling at the cloud. I don't want to live in a world and watch sports if computers are running it. And that may sound a little overdramatic. I know that that's not the case. But if guys at the top of the food chain of an organization in sports, I'm not talking about business. I understand there's a business component to this. We're talking big leagues here, okay? But in sport, competing on the ice, court, field, whatever, I don't want to live in a world where franchises I cheer for are letting computers make decisions about human beings that play these sports. I don't want to do it. And you said, oh, maybe it was okay that they were in there, Pelly and Tirani and whatever. Maybe they can. No, don't be in there. Do you want to know why? Because conversely, on the flip side, they're not hockey guys. And I wouldn't expect Craig Berube to walk into their offices and tell them how to generate money for the franchise.
No doubt. I get all that. I get it.
I doubt Craig Berube walked into Keith Pelly's office at the start of the year and went, you know what you should do, Keith? Charge $964 for little kids to run around on the ice with the flag.
You love that one.
One of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen.
What if I told you the Washington Capitals did the same thing?
I'd puke. I would be emailing Uncle Ted and going, stop this. Stop this. You have to gouge. Jeff O'Neill said it perfectly yesterday. I'd encourage anybody to go back and watch Overdrive from Wednesday, April 15th, and listen to Jeff O'Neill go on a tirade about how embarrassed he is of this franchise. He grew up loving the Leafs. He eventually found himself playing for the Leafs. Dream come true for him. And all he's ever talked about is how first class they treat players and how great the organization was. And then you read this story, which I'd also encourage everyone to go read in The Athletic, and you read about how they reduce, player discounts at Real Sports. And no one's going to shed tears for millionaires getting discounts and stuff. But that travels around the league. Hockey's a small world. You know this, Clarkey. These guys all talk to each other. The AHL team doesn't fly anymore. Like the Leafs used to set themselves apart. Yes, lack of playoff success. Yes, but they used to set themselves apart by being so first class above any other team. And do you know why they could do that? Because they're the richest and most valuable franchise in the league. And to see the crap that they're pulling on their fans that they mistreat all the time. And that's everybody. That's not Keith Pelly that's the players by not trying hard enough. I know Joe Bowen would kill me for saying that. And I loved listening to Bonesy's final 2 games. That was unbelievable what they did for him in Ottawa too. His last call ever, like the Senators doing. I know he'd kill me for saying that. But these guys check out. I'm not going to be getting into an argument with anybody anymore about William Nylander and whether he tries. I'm sorry. Like, have your opinion. That's mine. I don't want the guy on my team. Okay. It's to punish the fans with this crap is so outrageous to me, dude. $4.4 billion franchise. The most beloved franchise in the league for some reason. And these guys are doing this stuff. Enough. I just can't take it. It drives me up the wall, dude. I can't even imagine how you're feeling, buddy. You got any more thoughts on this?
It's going to be interesting, is all I'm saying. And the other thing I'm ticked off about what's happening here is, can we get on with it? How long does this take? How long does this process possibly take? Are they waiting?
Drager, I believe, said that they're looking at late April, early May to hire the next general manager.
I said it to you before. When you fire someone, you should know who's next. And I get some guys will be uncovered and come up and oh, this guy's available. Well, that's fine. Is it going to be Doug Armstrong? Well, let's go. St. Louis is pretty much done. Well, they're done, I guess. Not, well, unless they play tonight. But is there games tonight? Yeah, there are.
Yeah, there's some games tonight.
But like,
playoffs start Saturday.
If Doug Armstrong has been given permission to talk to the Leafs, like, it should be done. We should have a press conference tomorrow. Let's get on with life. We can't afford to wait around. If you're going to change the coach, that should be up to the general manager. And we need to know, because there's going to be there's now teams eliminated. There's teams that don't play anymore. They've cleaned out their lockers.
Yep.
There's going to be some coaches become available. Rick Bowness is not one of them. Not that I really wanted Rick Bowness, but you can't wait around. Let's get the team in place. But I can see Mr. Smarty Pants sitting back saying, we have to take our time. We have to do what's right. You can't rush to these decisions. Well,
Clarkey,
fine. There's a fine line between rushing to decisions and hiring people who are available, who would be the best choice. And if they're available, hire them.
And you know what, too? And I can't remember the name of the guy, like this firm that they've hired to help them with this.
Yeah.
If they hire somebody who's one of that guy, whose name, the guy's name,
there was a rumor that
if they hire one of his clients,
or the Florida guy, there was a rumor the Florida guy was his client. I don't know if that's true.
Sunny Mehta, yeah,
is that
I don't
true?
know either.
I don't know if it's true or not. I could ask AI,
but I'd be losing my mind.
Yeah.
I'd be losing my mind if they go to this firm, because if that's what the Toronto what is this? The Ford government? And I don't mean to
get into that.
I don't mean to be political on here.
Yeah, we're not going to be.
If the Toronto Maple Leafs, to Jeff O'Neill's point, are just going to turn into this buddies club where we pat each other on the back and I help this guy's business over here and we pay him to just hire one of his clients so he gets paid twice, that's going to look even more ridiculous. Even if it ends up being a guy like Sunny Mehta, who maybe is this firm's client that does a good job. In the atmosphere we're in right now with this team, there will be some fans, I promise you, that have a bad taste in their mouth about it.
Of course, as they should.
It'll look like,
Dude.
Oh, look at Keith. He's just patting his buddy on the back. Boy, doesn't he know what he's doing? I'm blown. I texted Steve Dangle yesterday, and I'd encourage everybody to go watch his final LFR.
You're going to say you encourage everyone to text him.
No, don't text Steve. He's busy enough, and he's been through enough this year. Doing a great job on Canada Reads, by the way. He's in the final with Tegan from Tegan and Sarah. Really cool stuff from Steve. A nice break for him from all of this. I was talking with him yesterday. I said, I can't wait to watch your newest podcast, because I can't wait to hear what him, Adam, and Jesse say. Because you look at all of the noise around this team, and I don't know that I've ever seen a franchise other than maybe at times the Cowboys, because the noise is so much more amplified because it's American football. I don't know if I've ever seen a team at this type of level in their respective sport generate this type of negative noise. It's crazy. And Clarkey, you mentioned you lived through the late 70s and 80s, the Ballard years, well documented. There wasn't social media back then, so like there's plenty of noise. It was in print,
not close.
And
amongst your friends, amongst your buddies, you would talk about it, but you had no way to portray that to the world, which people have now.
We
a lot of people troll people right now, so. Anyway.
Yeah, that's worth saying. Yeah. But we didn't have instantaneous access to information like this athletic story. Like that would be a piece that would take a newspaper like 3 weeks to put together, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's instantaneous now, and boy, is it noisy. And I got to tell you, man, I'm sick and tired of saying this to you. Like, I feel bad for you. I genuinely would like to see for you
my
friends.
I know.
To see this team win something.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's fun.
I know.
It's fun.
Know. Say, listen.
And I just
and when you think about the franchise and you think about what they do and how they do things, it just infuriates me of what's going on with this team right now. And I'm sorry, but I know Keith Pelly didn't start what I'm going to talk about, but he certainly didn't change when the voice of the Leafs, Joe Bowen, announced he was going to retire at the beginning of the season. He told us on this podcast, because of doing games in a studio. So he didn't travel on the road. He sat in a studio and watched the TV. He watched the TV. This all started during COVID. But after he announced his retirement, that this was his last season, to not give this guy the opportunity all season. I'm not talking about the last game.
I know.
All season, this guy should have been on the road.
Disrespectful.
Not only that, I want to say a couple more things here.
Please.
The last game of the year meant nothing. We all know that. Why couldn't you have put him on TV? Why couldn't maybe even the third period? Joe, come on TV and do the third period. It's just, to me, and maybe they did. I don't know if they offered that to Joe.
No, they did. Yeah,
I listened to it. I listened to the third period on radio.
It was great.
I did shed a tear, to be honest with you, when he wrapped up and was thanking everyone and Ralphie. And he did thank me. He didn't say my name, but he thanked me. All the technicians.
Technicians.
One of them was me. But
yes, it was.
You know what? Just a super guy who bleeds blue. And
he's the best.
The way they treated him, and they're the only team in the NHL not sending the radio crew. Not sending the radio crew.
I know.
How has this franchise no more Leafs TV? Like, I'm going to say it again. We are disserviced as fans of this team by not having a channel dedicated to pregame don't say whatever Sportsnet does is a pregame show strictly on the Leafs. It's not.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same as Leafs TV.
No, they do their job, but there should be a Leafs TV. There definitely should be a Leafs TV again.
Clarkey, I couldn't agree with you more, buddy. And I mean, we've covered this ad nauseum. We love Bonesy. We're so happy and thrilled with the outpouring of love that he's received. I got to tell you, I'm one of millions probably of Leaf fans and fans of him that are not pleased with the way that he's been treated over the last number of years, not sending that guy on road trips. It's an absolute embarrassment.
Especially this year, dude.
I've had to call, I've told you this before, a game in Guelph from a TV monitor because of brutal technical difficulties that were beyond our control. And our great producer, Ryan Manahan, got us on the air. I had to call it one game from a TV monitor that was about 13. It was about as wide as this laptop screen. It was extremely challenging. And God bless our camera people that night. It was the most challenging thing I've ever done. And to think that guy has done that for 6 years, it's embarrassing to me.
I listened very carefully to that broadcast last night, and I listen to Joe a lot. If I'm in the car, he's on. If there's a game on, there's no question last night's game was different and better because he was there.
Of course it was.
Like, not even close. And for the people who determined that it didn't matter, and it's a cost savings, the Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment cost savings.
And that's the disservice.
The legend, a legend on the road. Anyway, we better wrap it up. Good show.
Wrap it up.
We didn't even talk NHL playoffs. Your Caps are out. My Leafs are out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're out.
Who's going to win the cup?
We'll be fine because we got young players
coming.
Let's
just pick who's going to win the cup. Quick.
I like Colorado. Cheapy pick. How about the Sabres?
Whoa!
How about the Sabres?
Wow.
I
would really throw you for a loop if I picked Montreal, but I'm going to pick the Minnesota Wild.
I like that pick too. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching and listening to Instigating. You can find us on all your favorite podcast apps, YouTube, Rogers TV. Follow us at Instigating Pod on social media. We'll be back next week with more Instigating.